Hi everyone, I'm Rekha Mudaraj in the KHOU 11 newsroom. Happy Friday. We made it, and it has been a very eventful week. It is 2:34 this afternoon. Let's dive into the stories that you guys are talking about and clicking on KHOU.com. Okay, this story, let's call it a viewer favorite. Investigators say all 31 individuals involved in yesterday's Greenpeace protest at the Fred Hartman Bridge have been charged. At least 11 of those folks were the ones who were suspended over the Houston Ship Channel. You remember these images? They were dangling on that bridge for nearly 12 hours. But then Thursday evening, Houston and Baytown firefighters rappelled down to the protesters and then lowered them to boats that were waiting below. Now, they are all charged with criminal trespass and obstructing a highway. The activists could also face charges for a 3-vehicle crash on the bridge after a van that was carrying the protesters partially blocked a lane. That's according to Precinct 8. One person was hurt in that crash. The Houston Ship Channel, though, reopened around 5 a.m. this morning. That's according to the U.S. Coast Guard. Okay, this is a story that we brought you as breaking news this morning. The Cy-Fair ISD police chief confirming a former student with a gun showed up to Langham Creek High School. 17-year-old Jordan James McGee was arrested and charged with possession of a prohibited weapon. A parent tipped the school off. McGee was headed there with the weapon, but it's not clear if that tip actually came from McGee's mom or dad. The school was on lockdown. Police swarmed the campus after false rumors of an active shooter and shots fired were heard. And it was unclear, though, if the Glock that McGee had was loaded. Now, the school went into early release at 12:45 this afternoon. Lots of parents rushing to pick up their kids there. Clearly a huge police presence there. But students said that they saw police actually inside looking at classrooms, but it looks like all things were clear. Langham Creek, by the way, is located on FM 529 in northwest Harris County. Okay, this is a story we actually brought you as breaking news last night. It came after the Democratic debate. A Houston police officer was shot 3 times in a shootout with a group of carjacking suspects on the southeast side. The shooting happened around 10:30 p.m. near Scott and Tristan Streets. The 29-year-old officer, who is a 5-year HPD veteran, was transported to Memorial Hermann Hospital where he underwent surgery. Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo speaking this morning, saying the officer was shot 3 times in the chest with the bullets hitting underneath his vest. They said he was awake and talking when he left the scene. Police say 1 suspect is dead, 2 more are in custody. They're looking for another suspect. Now, Acevedo said this morning that the shooting actually started after a series of violent acts by those 4 suspects, including that carjacking and assaulting a priest in a church parking lot, even trying to shoot him. Well, the man who shot the officer was then shot dead by police. And again, the other 2 are in custody. Chief Acevedo calling for that 4th suspect, who is still at large, to turn himself in. Okay, let's talk weather now. Erica Lopez standing by in the Weather Center with an update. Hey, Erica.
The Saltgrass Steakhouse right next to downtown Avenida. Woo! And also local and your weekend forecast. Let's kick off your forecast with what's going on across the Caribbean right now, because we do have several disturbances we're monitoring. One with a 50% chance of development that is closer to the coast of Africa. Another disturbance at a 20% chance of development. But here's the one we're really keeping our close eye on, because it has a 90% chance of development, and it is called a potential tropical cyclone 9, meaning that we are expecting this to be the next named storm, which would be Humberto, sometime within the rest of today, possibly early tomorrow, if that. And this will be the next depression, if not tropical storm. So let's talk about the latest with this, because it gets very interesting when we monitor the forecast track, the latest forecast cone, and chat about the latest advisory coming out from the National Hurricane Center. So right now, this disturbance there's no center circulation. We don't have a defined area of low pressure at the surface, but it is still impacting with lots of rain and gusty winds the Bahamas, which we all know the Bahamas right now, specifically the northern Bahamas, do not need any more activity. Right now they have blue shaded colors around northern Bahamas. Those are tropical storm warnings, which are in effect right now because we are expecting tropical storm force conditions within the next 36 hours for islands that have already been impacted by Dorian. Here's the latest forecast cone though. It is interesting because if you were with us tracking Dorian, well, it looks very, very similar to what we were expecting with Dorian. And the only difference I would say is the strength of this system. We are expecting it to remain a tropical storm just off the coast of Florida. Majority of the models are keeping it into the Atlantic, which is good news, but we still expect heavy rain and also some gusty winds for the eastern coastal areas of Florida. Notice this storm kicks out back into the Atlantic, but once we get past about 48 hours within this forecast cone, the forecast gets quite uncertain. So it's still something we really have to monitor, keep a close eye on as we get closer to the system. So I'm going to zoom in and notice a blue line is in this graphic now. This blue line is the path that Dorian took. And notice the majority of the blue line is in the forecast cone. So this is not good, especially it goes straight through Abacos Island, Grand Bahama Island, and these islands are in the forecast cone again. So we're talking about areas that are still devastated by what Dorian brought, and we're adding insult to injury. I know it's tropical storm force conditions, but heavy rain is not something we need anymore. And the fact that the system is stationary at the moment, similar scenario that we had with Dorian, it's a slow moving storm. We do not like slow moving storms because that means it doesn't get out of the area. So it's going to be a big story for the next few days. Here's what we know so far and what you guys need to know. So Humberto has not officially formed, but we are expecting it to form once it becomes a depression or tropical storm. Then we can call it Humberto. That is expected to happen later on today, if not early tomorrow morning. Regardless of development or how strong it is, it's going to be bringing heavy rain for not only the Bahamas, but also for Florida. No threat to Houston. So if you're tuning in here in Houston, we do not have to be concerned. All of the models are taking it east of Houston. We're actually not going to see any impacts from the system at all. It's just going to be downright hot this weekend for us. 95 degrees your current temperature. We do have a good amount of cloud coverage out there and some pop-up storms as we bring the forecast locally to what's going on right now. Zooming into downtown Houston area, primarily just spotty areas of light rain is what we're tracking as we head southwest of downtown, specifically along 59. Some pretty good storms around the El Campo region at the moment, but other than that, it's been coastal storms throughout today. Beneficial rain, not enough to bring in a decent amount of rain-cooled air for the viewing area though. Still feeling like 100 degrees out in Sugar Land, 100 in Bush. Morton, you're seeing some rain-cooled air out there at 75 degrees for your feel-like temperature, coolest spot on the graphic at the moment. But other than that, for your Friday evening plans, expect temperatures to remain in the 90s. Very summer-like forecast ahead. Okay, so if you're interested in nerding out with me right now, there's a fun thing going on tonight. So tonight is a full harvest moon and it's Friday the 13th, if you haven't heard so far. So what a harvest moon is, it is the full moon that happens closest to the autumnal equinox. Autumnal equinox marks the official start of fall, which is 10 days away. I know it doesn't feel like fall for us here in Houston, but it is on September 23rd. So whenever we have a full moon, the full moon closest to that autumnal equinox is called the harvest moon every single year. So first of all, we have the harvest moon going on. It's Friday the 13th. This has not happened, us having a full moon on Friday the 13th, since the year 2000. So it's been 19 years and it's not going to happen again, guys, in 30 years. In 2049 is the next time that this is going to happen. So take advantage of it tonight. It's Friday. Maybe you want to do some stargazing outside. It's going to be beautiful. Enjoy it while you can. And it's also going to be the coolest part of the day because you're going to want to enjoy the evenings rather than the afternoons this weekend. Highs are back in the mid to upper 90s. We do have a slightly drier north wind in place this weekend that will keep our heat index values from being excessive out there. It's still going to feel like triple digits, but we're not talking about heat advisory criteria. So good news there. Very small rain chances. Most of us should stay dry, but just a heads up, the closer you are to the coast, the better rain chance we get. And we have better rain chances next week. That will cool us back down to the mid to low 90s. All right, I'll toss things back to Reka. Hope you guys have a happy Friday, and I'll have your updated full forecast coming up on the 411.